Certainly the regular viewers of this channel, and even just random passerbys, may be well aware of my rather large computer collection, and all of the PC and PC compatibles that I've got in my possession. But what you might not know is that I actually, this iteration of my collection was started with Apple Macintoshes. And there's one thing I've never had out of all of the machines that I've owned over the years, and that is an Intel-based Macintosh. The newest machine that I've ever had, I still have. I think it's the newest. I don't really know exactly which one would be newer, whether it's the iMac G4 that I've got downstairs, or if it's the Quicksilver PowerMac G4 that I also have downstairs. One of those two, more than likely, is the newest that I've had, or it could be the PowerBook G4 that I used to have as well. But the G4 is as new as it got. I've never owned a G5. Might be kind of neat to go down that road, although the G5 is kind of a white elephant, which might attract some unwanted attention from the Apple fanboy crowd by my saying such a thing about it. But the Intel one is another one that I've never had any iteration of. My mother has an Intel Mac Mini, but that's about the only thing that I've ever had hands-on experience with in this household. But that has changed, because time and eBay make things cheap, even though I should not be buying more computers and filling up space with computer junk. This is an Intel-based Mac Mini. Now, this is one of the earlier ones, obviously, you can tell, because it's not the unibody design that Apple came out with in later years. And I think MacBooks of the time that this thing would have been made would have been unibody. But later on, these things became all aluminum. This is certainly not all aluminum. It's got a nice rubberized bottom coating here. I'm not sure which generation this would be. I guess we can find out. You can see the ports in the back. There's power, which is not MagSafe. There's Ethernet, FireWire, display, which is DVI-I, so you can hook up a VGA monitor. 4 USB ports. There is your line-in and headphone, and a Kensington lock, and that's what you get. These things, when they came out, were designed to be consumer level and extremely cheap. I believe the opening price point was either $399 or $599, one of the two. I think they're $599 now. But I think they used to be $399 when they were new, and the reason Apple could get away with that is because they did not come stock, anyway, with a keyboard, a mouse, or a monitor. And you could use any peripheral you wanted, PC or Apple. Although, of course, obviously they would prefer you use the Apple components. I am going to be using an Apple keyboard and mouse with this, but I am going to obviously be hooking it up to this. I don't have an Apple Cinema display or anything fancy like that. If I really want to get fancy, somewhere around here I've got a new in-box Magic Mouse that may actually work with this, because I think it's equipped with Bluetooth. I have powered it on, so I do have something of an idea as to what it runs. It's got a copy of Snow Leopard on it. I'm going to be reloading Snow Leopard, so that way I have a fresh slate to deal with. If we take a look at the spec listing, if the camera would focus on it, 1.83, that's a Core 2 Duo. So I believe this would be the second generation Intel. I think the first ones came with Core Duos and Core Solos. 2x512 for 1 gig of RAM. I believe that's what it's got in it now. 80 gigabyte hard drive. It's got a combo drive, which means it can read DVDs and burn CDs. I believe that is what combo drive stands for. The super drive is the one that can burn both types. AP for airport, so this is equipped with airport, and BT, Bluetooth. Obviously it's the USA model. There's your EMC model, EMC number, I should say. All the other information. Now, I'm not 100% sure how these come apart. I would like to upgrade the hard drive in it at some point. But I think for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a Snow Leopard disc. I'm going to get the keyboard and the mouse. And then I will go ahead and install Snow Leopard for all of you to see, and maybe even do some quick basic setup tasks. Okay, here you can see my period correct hardware. I believe that this would have been period correct. It might have been the older white style with the bigger keys. I don't have one of those handy. I think actually I do have one, but it's downstairs and I don't feel like getting it. So this is the closest thing that I've got to that sitting up here in my possession, and that is definitely too old for this. So, but we do have the Mighty Mouse, which again I think that this is period correct. It may have been the older style Pro Mouse that this older generation would have come with. I'm not positive on that. But here we can also see the gigantic brick on a leash power supply, which is like, compared to the computer, is downright huge. I think it weighs about as much as the computer too. It's rated for 110 watts. Not the camera. Here we go. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug it in. I'll get the DVD and we'll option boot it. Just hold down the option key, turn the power on, and we should be able to. That's basically the same thing as pressing F8 or F12 to get a boot menu on a PC. So the other alternative is we can hit C to boot to the CD directly, but sometimes I don't trust that when it already has an operating system on it, because with a Macintosh you can't really tell what it's booting from. So where's the button? There it is. There we go. Let's see if it'll take that disc. It's a dual layer disc, so it may or may not actually like it. Alright, Mac OS 10 install DVD. Let's boot to that. I believe if you hold down Command V, you'll get verbose mode. I don't remember the exact command for it. It's either Command V or Option V or Command Option V or something similar. All I know is that there's a V involved. It's very neat having an actual Intel-based Macintosh finally after all these years. It's like going from a 486 to a Pentium 4, almost. Or probably more like a Pentium 3, because the Pentium 4 is awful. Or, I guess a more apt description would be going from Pentium 4 to a Core 2 Duo. Just the massive performance improvements. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and let this thing start up into the installer, and we'll see where we go from there. I think it's only running at 1024 by 768, but that's okay. Use English for the main language. Don't mind if I do. To set up the installation of Snow Leopard, click Continue. I would like to install Snow Leopard. I agree to the license agreement that I read very carefully. I think I'm actually going to go into the disk utility first. And I'm going to just reformat that disk. I think I have to do this. I don't think the installer formats. You can see it's a Hitachi hard drive. So I want to erase the disk. We'll call it that. Mac OS Extended Journal. I do not want the case sensitive. I want to erase it. I do not care what's on it. Hopefully this will work. The fact it's taking that long to unmount is not very promising. Okay, well, it might actually be doing something. There we go. There we go. So that should now be a blank disk. So I can close the disk utility, go back to the installer, we'll hit customize. Oops, sorry, I'm zoomed in there. I'm going to install Rosetta. We'll go ahead, sure, we'll install QuickTime, why not? Printer support. I don't really need printer support at all. So we'll just do the usual thing, I suppose. We'll go ahead for that. And install. And there we go. Now it should install. Not sure if you can hear the DVD working, but it is definitely working, at least so far. Well, that probably wasn't very smart. It's past midnight on a work night, and now I have to sit and wait for this. Oops. Oh well, at least it's getting done. Somebody's probably going to make a comment about my using Snow Leopard rather than going with something more modern like Lion or newer. Remember that this only has 1 GB of memory in it, and I think the Lion release requires at least 2 GB. But I don't know. I've never really been interested in anything beyond Snow Leopard anyway, because Apple made changes to some of the underlying functionality of the operating system that I wasn't a fan of. Plus, Lion also dropped Rosetta support, and considering most of the Macintosh software I've got is PowerPC based, it would kind of be nice to have that Rosetta support. It might also be kind of neat to find another one of these at some point and maybe put Linux on it, or also put like a newer version of the Mac OS on it as well. Maybe experiment with Boot Camp, things like that. Okay, it should be a little quieter now. Well, it would be if it weren't for that thing. So this should be the final setup. Should play a video. Which is probably copyrighted, but oh well. It's a little quiet. Can't make it louder either. It doesn't really work. I think this is the last version of OS X that had audio. Alright. Do not transfer information because I don't have any other Macintoshes to transfer information from. Ooh, I'm gonna connect it to my wireless. Uh-oh. It's dialing out to the mothership. I don't even think that's actually even gonna work, because, of course, obviously Snow Leopard is longer to support. Hopefully we can actually get past this step. Okay, I've gone ahead and done some final setup here. I think everything is set up the way that I would like it for the time being. Still going to need to run some updates, because almost certainly this stuff is going to almost be completely out of date. Not even sure if Apple's website will load properly. This older version of Safari. Well, it's loading better than I would have anticipated it would. But it's pretty hilariously broken. Now, this is pretty old version. What version of Snow Leopard is this? Is this just 10.6, or has this been updated at all? Let's see. No, it's just 10.6. 1 GB of RAM. And we'll open this. See, there's your information, your identifier. There's your combo drive. Intel audio. It does have Bluetooth. Airport card and Marvell Ethernet. Does it have FireWire? Oh, it does have FireWire. Interesting. GMA 950 graphics, that's pretty typical. There's no hardware RAID. Both RAM sticks. No PCI, no SCSI. No UPS, no printers, no serial attached SCSI. Does have a SATA hard drive, which is nice. I could probably upgrade that to an SSD if I desired to do so. And of course, USB. Okay, I think that's probably pretty much all that we get in terms of updates. I don't see a Safari update in there, but I'm guessing that once I install 10.6.8, then we'll get Safari updates. We'll probably get a whole bunch of other updates as well. We might as well install them. I read that software license agreement very carefully. We'll enter the password. Alright, turns out there are more updates available, but I think I'm going to save that for another day, and I'm not going to include that in this video because look at the time. It's very late. I need to get to bed so I can get to work later on, because it's going to be a busy week. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below.